Super Lucky Disaster Man. Chapter 69, Birthday Gift and Detective Agency. After receiving the intelligence, Dazai-Osamu went straight to the "Our detective said" hospital. The female on the phone said. Last year, after Mori Ogai dealt with several restless small groups during the Dragon's Head conflict, Yokohama's public safety significantly improved. Seeing accidents everywhere in Yokohama and hospitals unable to keep up was not a common occurrence. Therefore, once arriving at the hospital, with just a bit of inquiry, someone could immediately tell you where the patient was, instead of saying, "There are too many. Which one are you talking about?" As luck would have it, Komaeda Nagito, who had been taken to the hospital by ambulance, ended up at a hospital invested in by the Tei Corporation in Yokohama. Initially, when he was first brought in, some people were worried about how to contact his family if Komaeda Nagito needed major surgery. However, a passing doctor recognized him at first glance. "Oh, I know this person. No need to worry. He has no family." Furthermore, Tei Corporation even had an insurance policy for his accidents. They could perform surgery without worry, with the expenses covered by Tei Corporation, and the patient never made any trouble himself. Everyone immediately felt at ease and proceeded to operate on Komaeda Nagito. When Dazai-Osamu arrived to inquire, the aunt at the reception desk, who also knew Komaeda Nagito, heard that he was a friend and cheerfully provided the room number, even adding with a sigh, "Komaeda-kun has been coming and going from here for years. Since his parents passed away, no one has come to see him. But now he actually has a friend. I'm truly happy for him." Dazai-Osamu paused, giving the woman his usual charming smile. "I'll take good care of him." Komaeda Nagito really was in the right hospital. He was receiving VIP-level treatment, with a private room far superior to the ones the FBI had arranged for compensation in America, 3 to 4 times more luxurious just at a glance. The room not only had a private bathroom, but also included a sofa and tea table for visitors, as well as a separate area for companions to sleep. After entering, Dazai-Osamu pulled a chair to the bedside, picked up the medical file, and took a look. Fractured ribs, a broken right arm, a broken right leg. Too fragile, he had broken the same leg just last year in America. His head, however, was comparable to the incident back then, no bruises, but still a concussion. If he keeps getting concussed like this, Komaeda-kun is going to turn into an idiot sooner or later. His lungs and other organs had some damage too, but it was relatively minor. This looked like it was going to require a long recovery, especially his leg, which would need extra care since it had been broken multiple times. At least 3 months of rehabilitation would be necessary for full recovery. About to celebrate his birthday and ended up like this. Dazai-Osamu couldn't help but feel speechless. After reading the medical file, Dazai-Osamu calculated the duration of the anesthesia. Realizing that Komaeda Nagito wouldn't wake up anytime soon, he decided to relax, took out his phone, and started handling port mafia business. He had just taken out his phone when he suddenly remembered the person who had called him. The caller said that they left the phone at the nearest police station. After checking the address, Dazai immediately understood. Our detective. Considering the address and the term detective, there could only be one answer. That woman was from the Armed Detective Agency. The Armed Detective Agency, huh? Dazai-Osamu reviewed all the information he had on the Armed Detective Agency in his head, recalling how Mori Ogai had mentioned the Armed Detective Agency with a hint of veiled hostility. He made up his mind, he was going to thank them personally. What? Whether Mori Ogai would have any objections or be suspicious of him? Even if he did absolutely nothing, Mori Ogai would still have something to say. Any contact with the Armed Detective Agency was enough to be deemed problematic. But that would have to wait until Komaeda-kun woke up. He wasn't sure how much time had passed when Komaeda Nagito finally woke up to the soft sound of typing. Smelling the familiar scent of disinfectant, he slowly opened his eyes, staring blankly at the ceiling of the hospital room for a moment before slowly turning his head toward the sound. "Good evening, Komaeda-kun." Sitting beside the bed, Dazai-Osamu typed the last character on his phone, put it down, and looked at him. "How are you feeling?" Komaeda Nagito seemed a bit absent-minded, responding after a delay, "My whole body hurts. But I'm used to it." "I figured as much, you're really in full bloom this time." Dazai-Osamu read out Komaeda Nagito's medical report and then asked, "Do you want me to call the doctor?" "No need." Komaeda Nagito, well-versed in medical matters after being sick for so long, understood what was going on just from hearing the medical report. "Basically, just rest. I'll also need to request leave from school. How long have I been here?" "Don't worry, you haven't lost your memory this time. It's just the next day." Remembering their time in America, Dazai-Osamu couldn't help but chuckle. The driver was less injured than you, and he wanted to apologize, but it wasn't really his fault. After an inspection, it turned out there was a problem with the brakes. "Since you weren't awake, he hasn't come yet." As he spoke, Dazai noticed that Komaeda Nagito was staring at him blankly, prompting him to raise an eyebrow. "What are you thinking about?" "I was just thinking. It seems like every time I wake up from a major injury lately, I always see Dazai-kun." Komaeda Nagito smiled through the pain. "It's really, quite unfortunate." Dazai-Osamu picked up the painkillers from the bedside table and, following the doctor's instructions, poured out one. "How so?" "If this keeps happening, I'll get used to it." Komaeda Nagito sighed. "When I woke up just now, even before seeing you, I felt like you should be here, and it turns out you really were." "Is getting used to it a bad thing?" "It's not good. If this keeps happening, and there comes a time when I don't see Dazai-kun, I'll be really disappointed." Komaeda Nagito said, "Aren't you worried?" If someone else heard these words, they'd surely be baffled, not understanding how the conversation had ended up on whether or not Dazai-Osamu was worried. But Dazai understood immediately. Komaeda Nagito's logic needed to be analyzed based on his experiences. What Komaeda Nagito was actually implying, without much subtlety, was, "I'm really worried that you're becoming more and more important to me. One day, you might die, and that'll be my misfortune. Aren't you worried about that?" "Of course I'm not worried." Dazai-Osamu shoved the painkiller into Komaeda Nagito's mouth, stopping him from continuing. Anyway, given Komaeda Nagito's current state, he wasn't in a position to sit up and take water with his pills. He had to just swallow it lying down. "Looks like you didn't listen to what I told you before." He smiled cheerfully, watching Komaeda Nagito struggle to swallow the painkiller, his face contorting with discomfort. Continuing, he said, "I've decided not to change my ways because of these things. No matter if they're good or bad, do you really need me to swear for you to feel at ease?" Komaeda Nagito struggled to speak, "I didn't mean to." As if in thought, Dazai-Osamu said, "Now that I think about it, I don't believe in that stuff anyway, so swearing would be pointless." Komaeda Nagito. "Then why did you bring it up?" However, Komaeda Nagito had gotten Dazai-Osamu's point. Basically, from Dazai's perspective, whether he lived or died didn't matter, so he shouldn't keep obsessing over it. Komaeda Nagito honestly didn't want to dwell on such things either. Last year in America, he had already prepared himself for the possibility of Dazai-Osamu dying in front of him or somewhere outside, with his body never being found. But today, with his injuries and the discomfort, and waking up to see Dazai, just as he had imagined, he felt unusually sentimental. But it had been more than half a year. Reminding Dazai-kun was still a good thing. If Dazai-kun had regrets, it wasn't too late to change his mind. If this time Dazai-kun was still as determined, then he wouldn't bring it up again in the future. As Komaeda Nagito was about to speak, Dazai-Osamu spoke first. "By the way, your birthday is coming up in a couple of days. Originally, Oda-saku and I had planned a birthday party for you, but given your current state, where you can't even get out of the hospital room, the party's cancelled." Truly unfortunate. Komaeda Nagito's eyes lit up. Indeed, very unfortunate. So there was a plan. His streak of misfortune really was thick lately, he wondered what the next stroke of luck would be. "I asked you before what you wanted as a birthday present, and you said everything would eventually be ruined, so you might as well give up." But without the party or a birthday gift, it'd be too plain a birthday. So I think I should still give you something, even if it will be lost eventually. It's better to have it for a while, right? Better than never having it at all. Komaeda Nagito lay weakly on the bed, smiling at the familiar words. You're right. Honestly, as long as it's from Dazai-kun, I'd like anything. How about I give myself to you? Komaeda Nagito was stunned, his eyes widening. What? Dazai-osamu spoke in a tone that seemed like he was joking. You hinted at me reconsidering leaving many times. I gave away gifts without taking them back, so can you relax now? Komaeda Nagito felt embarrassed hearing that. He didn't have many friends in this world. He could count them on one hand. Oda Sakanosuke and Sakaguchi Ongo were busy with work. Though they were connected to him, the age gap also made it hard to develop a deep friendship. Kudo Shinichi, on the other hand, was only a year younger than him, and they got along quite well for that period of time, but their values differed slightly. Only Dazai-osamu, with whom he spent more time, seemed to click in every aspect. Moreover, it felt like he was the one who cared about him the most since his parents' death, even more than Natsume-sensei. I was wrong. It's me who couldn't understand Dazai-kun's sincerity. Dazai-kun is also bothered, of course, someone like me. So. Dazai-osamu interrupted Komaeda Nagito, who was used to belittling himself. You want it? Komaeda Nagito fell silent. Don't worry about when I'll die, just tell me right now, do you want a friend who will never leave you? Dazai-osamu's persuasive skill was maxed out, though usually, he was too lazy to use it. Now, he brought his charm to its peak, and his tone was subtly motivating, producing a satisfying effect. Komaeda Nagito instinctively followed his lead and said, yes. Dazai-osamu smiled. If you want it that much, then I'll accept. First of all, happy early birthday, Komaeda-kun. Dazai-osamu left the hospital the next morning. When he first learned about what happened to Komaeda Nagito, he called Mori Ogai to inform him about the situation, explaining that Komaeda-kun had no parents and that he was his only friend, and he had to visit him. Mori Ogai naturally wouldn't ruin the mood by saying something like, doesn't he also have a friend named Kudo in Tokyo? Considering that this was his junior, not only did he give Dazai-osamu a day off, but he also inquired about Komaeda's condition, reminding him to take good care of him. Once again, Dazai-osamu confirmed in his heart that there might be some connection between Mori Ogai and Komaeda Nagito. Initially, Mori Ogai had talked about recruiting Komaeda Nagito to join the port mafia, occasionally asking about Komaeda's attitude. But after returning from America, he never mentioned it again, so was it during the time in America. Anyway, when he tested Komaeda-kun, Komaeda seemed completely unaware, which meant that it was Mori's one-sided appreciation. Dazai-osamu looked at the tall building in front of him, putting aside those thoughts. Although this information might not be useful now, information was always beneficial, and he might need it in the future. Whatever he wanted to do, information was the foundation. Otherwise, just like last time in that shoujo manga situation, when no information was gathered, the only thing left was shock after shock. The building in front had a coffee shop on the first floor, while the armed detective agency was on the fourth floor. Dazai-osamu entered the building lightly through the side door of the coffee shop, pressed the button for the fourth floor, and waited for the elevator to arrive. The building wasn't very tall, just 4 floors, so it didn't take long. Once the elevator doors opened, he could faintly hear the continuous ringing of telephones. Dazai-osamu whistled. Just like in the intelligence report, business was indeed busy for this detective agency. He knocked on the door. He thought that with such chaos inside, they wouldn't hear him knocking, but a few seconds later, someone opened the door. Come in. The young man who opened the door seemed about the same age as Dazai-osamu. Are you here for a commission? Dazai-osamu looked inside the room, and amidst the chaos, he noticed 2 people in particular. One had his legs up on the table, leisurely eating snacks, while the other was idly sitting at a desk, seemingly sharpening her nails. Besides them, the person who opened the door was the only other one who caught his attention. The others in the office seemed like typical workers, taking phone calls, recording commissions, or trying to convince the person eating snacks while holding a stack of documents. Withdrawing his gaze, Dazai-Osamu smiled harmlessly. I'm here to express my gratitude. Huh? The young man who opened the door looked puzzled. Are you also working here? Dazai-Osamu looked him up and down. The young man hurriedly denied it. No, I'm just, like an intern. Just experiencing it. I'm the president's student. Right, I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Kunikida Dalpo. Kunikida. Dazai-Osamu nodded but had no intention of introducing himself. He followed Kunikida Dalpo towards the reception area, half-jokingly speaking. Yesterday my friend had a car accident. One of your workers found his phone and called me to tell me about it. My friend lost both parents at a young age. If it weren't for that call, I don't know when I would have learned about it. So, I wanted to come and say thank you. Kunikida Dalpo immediately remembered. Ah, that phone yesterday was your friend's. Is he okay? Dazai-Osamu sighed. He's in the hospital, at least 3 months of recovery. Last year, he even fell from a building once. He keeps having these accidents. It's really worrying. Kunikida Dalpo said sympathetically, at least now he still has you as a friend. I've heard of the armed detective agency before but never been here. The one eating snacks just now, is that Edogawa Ranpo? Kunikida Dalpo said proudly, yes, don't judge Ranpo-san by his appearance, he's actually amazing. The best detective I've ever seen. Being led by Dazai-Osamu into the conversation, Kunikida Dalpo unconsciously forgot that the other person had just come to express gratitude, and there was no need for such a long chat. It wasn't until his phone alarm went off that he suddenly came to his senses. Ah, it's already this time. Kunikida Dalpo looked at his watch. I need to head to school. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. Though he said that, Kunikida Dalpo faintly felt that something was off. Was it really because he talked too much that time flew by? Actually, the one who found that phone was our agency doctor. She's here, would you like to talk to her directly? Kunikida Dalpo asked. Sure. Since Dazai-Osamu had come here, he certainly didn't mind gathering some extra information. The Port Mafia didn't have much intelligence on the armed detective agency. All he knew was that they were a legitimate organization, but even the abilities of its members were unknown. In theory, they should be gathering intelligence, but since Mori Ogai hadn't said anything, the intelligence division wouldn't trouble themselves unless it involved the Port Mafia, such as investigating someone connected to them. This treatment wasn't unique. Other organizations without much interaction with the Port Mafia received the same. Therefore, no one was suspicious. Still, Dazai-Osamu sensed Mori Ogai's subtle feelings towards the armed detective agency. So, since he was already here and had a legitimate reason, wouldn't it be a pity not to try gathering information? Kunikida Dalpo went to ask the doctor behind the partition and then returned to Dazai-Osamu. I'll take you to meet Dr. Yosano. Dazai-Osamu happily went ahead. However, as soon as he turned the corner of the partition, he locked eyes with Edogawa Ranpo, who had just finished arguing with an employee and was chatting with Dr. Yosano beside her desk. Edogawa Ranpo looked at Dazai-Osamu, frowned, and said suddenly, "You're from the Port Mafia." Coincidentally, Dazai-Osamu's phone rang at that moment. Seeing that he was already exposed, he casually answered in front of everyone, "Boss Mori? Didn't you say I could take a break?" Bang! The item in Dr. Yosano's hand dropped, her face turned slightly pale as she glanced at Dazai-Osamu. Dazai-Osamu's expression didn't change, but he took in this scene, making mental notes. The armed detective agency's doctor couldn't possibly be an ordinary doctor, she was probably an ability user with healing powers. Her reaction to hearing about the Port Mafia was quite intense, but he hadn't heard of the Port Mafia ever doing anything to its medical personnel. Therefore, there must be another reason. Edogawa Ranpo, however, hurriedly said to Dr. Yosano, "It has nothing to do with you." Dr. Yosano adjusted her expression and said softly, "It was just a bit unexpected." After so many years, she had mostly overcome her psychological shadow. It was just that she had never expected to meet someone from the port mafia under such circumstances, and that caught her off guard. Dazai Osamu simply said a few words, gave a brief report on Komai de Nagito's condition, and then hung up the phone. He looked at Dr. Yosano's reaction with interest, and then glanced to the side, noticing that Kunikita Dalpo, who had just been happily chatting with him, stepped half a step back. He pulled out his notebook, his face filled with caution. "A kind suggestion," Dazai Osamu said casually, "don't make the conditions for using your ability too obvious." Kunikita Dalpoa's posture made it seem like he was scared of people not knowing that his ability required that notebook. Although they had a commotion on their side, the sound wasn't loud, and only a few people nearby could hear it. The workers on the phones a bit further away certainly didn't have time to pay attention, so even though the situation seemed ready to explode, it actually didn't cause much of a disturbance. "Put it away, Kunikita." Edogawa Ranpo adjusted his glasses and looked at Dazai Osamu before taking them off again. He didn't come here to cause trouble. Hearing Edogawa Ranpo's words, Kunikita Dalpo hesitated before putting away his notebook, his expression still unfriendly as he questioned, "What exactly is your purpose?" Dazai Osamu shrugged. "I just wanted to thank you all for letting me know my friend was in the hospital." "He's not lying to you. The one in the car accident really is his friend." Edogawa Ranpo relaxed as he destroyed a bag of snacks, stuffing it into his mouth as he spoke indistinctly. "He's probably just curious about our detective agency and decided to stop by." Dr. Yosano, though not as reactive, still looked at Dazai Osamu with guarded, resistant eyes. "Is your friend also a member of the port mafia?" "No," Dazai Osamu shrugged. "He's an ordinary high school student in Tokyo. If he really were in the port mafia, I wouldn't have to worry about not getting any news about him, so I sincerely thank you." Dr. Yosano looked over at Edogawa Ranpo, as if seeking confirmation. Edogawa Ranpo nodded. Dr. Yosano's expression eased a bit, but from the way she crossed her arms, it was clear she hadn't let down her guard entirely. "Got it. As long as your friend is okay, I'm fine. I just picked up a phone, that's all. I didn't do anything else, so if there's nothing else to say, I'll be on my way then." When Dazai Osamu didn't want to make trouble, he could be very tactful, especially since this time he had gained more than expected, so there was no need to linger. Dazai Osamu didn't seem angry at all. He smiled and thanked them before turning around to leave. After he closed the door, Dr. Yosano truly relaxed and then explained to Edogawa Ranpo. "I'm really fine. It's just that I hadn't heard any news about that man for a long time, and I couldn't quite react." "Don't worry," Edogawa Ranpo said seriously, "both the president and I will protect you." Dr. Yosano smiled and nodded. Then, in a lighter mood, she added, "I didn't expect that randomly picking up a phone yesterday would result in a call to the port mafia." "He cares a lot about that friend," Edogawa Ranpo said. "Although that friend isn't in the mafia, I'm afraid he still has some other connection to Mori Ogai. Otherwise, Mori Ogai wouldn't care so much about an outsider. Even if it were for an executive, Mori Ogai's personality wouldn't go that far. But what kind of situation would make Mori Ogai pay attention to a normal person?" Edogawa Ranpo glanced at the door to President Fukuzawa Yukichi's office before withdrawing his gaze. "Not enough clues, let's leave it at that for now." Chapter 69 End.